Hi, my name is Aspen, and you're watching Aspen Meets World. So let's talk about brows. I am no makeup artist by any means, but one of the most frequent questions that I get are about my brows. I don't feel like my eyebrows are incredibly amazing. It's definitely a skill that I've worked on over the last couple years. I've definitely had my hard times when it's come to my eyebrows. And when I say hard times, I mean very, very, very hard times.
No, 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 no.
So, well, I don't think that I'm a professional. I have had a lot of trial and error. This video is for all of my friends and the people that I met over the years that have asked me about my eyebrows and how I do them. And for you young high school and college kids that are balling on a budget here and need some advice. So I did want to keep on my brows. It's a full day, just got off of work, and this is the most awkward angle of all time. This is what my brows look like after a full day, and now I just took off my eye makeup. The reason why I've picked these products and I've used these products for so long is that they wear really well for a really long time, and they're basically foolproof. So once I start pulling these out, some of these products might be a little weird to people, especially anyone that's watching that does do makeup. But honestly, the cool thing about makeup and makeup products is that you can find multiple ways to use them, and you can use them however you like. So if you watch this and you're like, oh my gosh, she's an idiot because she's using eyeliner on her eyebrows, then just move along. You know, this is just something that's worked for me really well over the years. I did want to start out by saying that the number one piece of advice that I have for you as far as eyebrows go, don't over pluck your eyebrows, because it's really easy to kind of lay concealer or foundation over brow hairs than to over pluck and have to draw them on, because it's a lot easier to make foundation and concealer over hair look more natural than having to draw it on, especially if it gets really patchy. It's hard to do. Keep those tweezers away from your eyebrow. I will say that I wouldn't just leave it to professionals, because a lot of people that do brows in the mall or salons don't necessarily know how to do brows really well either. Or scratch that. Know how to get the right brow shape for that individual, because everyone has a different brow shape. I will say that I do pluck my own eyebrows, but there's been issues along the way. I have plucked way too much hair out of the center of my brows, and it took a really long time for them to grow back. And I would I'd try to pluck the smaller hairs under this part right here, and it made my brows, especially when I didn't have any makeup on, look really uneven, and it was hard to fill in without it looking really patchy. So tip number one, put the tweezers down. I always would suggest to underpluck instead of overpluck. So if you're there's a hair on the line there and you're like, should I pluck it or not? Leave it. I'm gonna go ahead and take off my brows for the day, and then I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna put them back on and show you how to do it. I just wanted to show you what they look like after a full day, because just because they look pretty at the beginning of the day doesn't mean it's gonna look pretty at the end of the day. When I do my friends' brows, what I typically try to ask them is, what are you insecure about when it comes to your brows? So what I'm really insecure about and what I like to change first is that I don't really have a tail on my eyebrows, especially not one that's far enough to make my eye makeup look as good as it could. I also really like to have a defined arch, because I do have hooded lids. I really like to give myself as much lid space as possible, and I like to not make my brows look too thick, because like I said, I have hooded lids. I want to give myself as much lid space as possible to do my eye makeup, so I don't want to make my brows look too thick and kind of weigh my eyelids down. I do my brows After I wash my face, like moisturize and everything, and then I go ahead and prime my face. My first step is I take a spoolie brush and I go in and just brush my hairs into place. I brush up towards the center and then kind of push them more out to the side. Like I said, my biggest insecurity is my tail, the tail part of my brows. So that's the first thing that I like to go in and change. And how I do that, and I know I'm gonna sound crazy, but I use eyeliner on my eyebrows. And before you click off, this eyeliner is better than any brow product I've ever used. And I have an Ipsy bag, and I like request brow products all the time. So this has been put through the ringer. I've been using this. This is the product that's stuck with me the longest in my everyday makeup routine. This is the CoverGirl Perfect Point Plus eye pencil in the color 215 Gray Khaki. And another reason why I love this eyebrow pencil is that it's cool toned. So many brow pencils that I've tried, especially for lighter hair colors, because I am more of like a dirty blonde, especially like the tips of my hair are a lot lighter than my roots. They're all warm toned. It dries, or if you want like the cooler tones, you have to go darker. And while I do like to match more of like my root color, I don't want to go too dark and weigh my eyelid down. So this color is perfect. I also really like it because I don't have to use a pencil sharpener on it. It's one of the twisty ones, which a lot of the brow pencils today are pencils. Ew. And because it's like more of a kohl type, it is more waxy. And it takes a little bit of time to set, which I like, because then I can go in with my brush and kind of fix it. Plus, it's super cheap. It's like $4 or $5. You can get it anywhere: Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target. It's everywhere. Take this, and I go in short, light strokes. So the first thing I do is kind of define my arch at the top, and I'm going with the natural shape of my brows. Then I'm going to define the arch a little bit more. So go in, I'm going to drag it down. See, like curve it a little bit. Then I'm going to lengthen out the tail. Now I kind of eyeball it, but kind of where the corner of my lower lash line is where I want to stop. Just like with eyeliner, I really struggle to get them even, so I will like back up every once I do a couple strokes on this side and make sure that they're even. But if you get through this part and it looks a mess and you're panicking, relax. Then I go in with the spoolie really quick and just kind of get rid of any harsh lines, gently brush through, getting the product to sit more on my skin than the individual hairs, so it looks a little bit more natural. Then we go in with this brush. Now, I don't really have like a brand for you, but honestly, it's just like a smudger brush. And I just kind of roll the tip, so I put a little bit of product on it and roll the tip so it gets a little bit more pointed. So then I take this brush and put just a little bit of product on it. And then I start on the back end of things, kind of define the line a little bit more there. And then I take what's left on the brush and I start at the bottom, because you want the bottom to be a little bit more defined. And then slowly work your way up. Because you really want it to be darker here and then slowly fade lighter as it goes up more towards the front. Kind of mess with it for a little while. Also look at the almost poked myself in the eye, the height of the brow here and try to make them match. So then go in and I just brush through. I kind of just do this periodically to make sure everything's really blended. And then to define them, I use my foundation. And I used to use concealer, but I realized I started getting like a halo kind of brow and I hate that. So I want to define it and clean up the edges without making it too defined, if that makes sense. So I use the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the Matte and Poreless just because I typically have a more oily skin type. And this is in the shade 120 Classic Ivory. So then I'm going to take an angled brush with my foundation and just dip it in. Gonna have a decent amount on my brush and I go in to my lid. And so I use my foundation also as a primer for my lid just because why overcomplicate things? And yeah, and I also haven't found anything that works any better. So I just go in with this and just start defining the bottom, fixing any mistakes. So just try to use small strokes, go a little bit at a time. And then I just use a damp Real Techniques beauty blender, or makeup sponge I guess, and just blend it out. I take it on the top. Let's go ahead and put quite a bit on there. And then I work it down. And then take that same beauty blender and just tap it in and work it up. Now make sure that you're like kind of tapping right on the edge of the brow so that it blends it in. That way when you're like looking down at all, it doesn't have that super defined like drawn in line. It's kind of blended in. But say you you go too far into the brow, you mess up. Pencil still isn't set yet, so go back in with your like small brush and you can just gently push the foundation away. You can just go back in with your foundation. Just go back and forth until you get the shape that you want. And then you just blend it out, just like with the other one. And then you want to go in the middle, and I just do like a little swipe in the middle and tap it out. Now I have PTSD from having blocky brows, so I really like to kind of blend it into the front so they're not like too crazy like blocky and defined. We got the basic shape down. I'm happy with where I'm at there. I have two different products for that. I'm a big Ipsy bag user, and so this I recently got and I like it a lot. But there are quite a few drugstore options too. So this is the Benefit Give Me Brow in I think medium brown. I'll have to look it up because it's not on this mini size, but I really like it. It sets the brows really well, and it's supposed to have like the microfibers that help define the brows. I use this more towards like the middle of the straight part of your brow back, because once again I want it to kind of like fade. And I also like that it's like a different color, slightly darker than the pencil, so that it can kind of define each individual brow and it doesn't look too drawn on. If you mess up with a product like this, don't worry, let it dry. Don't try to wipe it off right away, and then you can either take your finger or your beauty blender and just like dust it off, because it'll get kind of dry and flaky. And then my favorite, the one that I use the most, is the e.l.f. clear gel for your eyebrows and your eyelashes. So I use this. I start in the front and then work my way back, because it helps kind of blend out the Give Me brow too. And it sets everything in place. And I'm brushing the front up. Just like with the spoolie earlier, then I kind of brush the rest backwards. That's it. This eyebrow look I typically do for when I have like a full face of makeup on. So I have, you know, pretty busy eyes and I want to really define that brow so that everything looks even. But if I'm going for more of a natural look, I'll use just the Gimme Brow or just the e.l.f. and maybe a little bit of the pencil just to kind of fill in the tail just a little bit more. But otherwise, that's my look. Alright guys, I appreciate you so much. If you have any more questions about my makeup or my makeup routines, please let me know. I'll have my social media linked down below. My DMs are always open there, and of course you can comment here. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe so that you can keep up with all of these videos. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys so much, and thanks for watching.